I talk about my watch club here on my channel from time to time, the Gotham Watch Club. And I talk about it because it is a very large part of my life now. I have a lot of members that are joining, and there are a lot of really cool people that want to be a part of it. One of those people is a guy by the name of Kota, who is a professional scooter rider. You may actually know this guy because he is pretty damn famous. Kota has collaborated with a major watch brand, Nubio, who is part of, I believe they're part of the Solar Group or Solar Time. But what he has done is given us a really interesting watch that is very bespoke. He paints each one of these watches by hand. It also gets a really cool movement, especially for the price. He made one specifically for me, inspired by the Gotham Watch Club. So let's take a hands-on look at a custom watch for the Gotham Watch Club by a friend and member of the Gotham Watch Club, Kota. So like I was saying, Kota is a freestyle scooter rider, and there are plenty of videos on the internet on his own YouTube channel where he's doing tons of tricks that look very, very dangerous. Usually they're on a Razor scooter, at least from what I have seen, but he's also an artist. And here's a very good example of his art. If you go to his website, he has a few things that he's done. He's a pretty eclectic guy. He likes to do a lot of different things. This is based on his artwork, really. So he hand paints each one of these cases. The dial is hand painted as well. There's a little bit of a dial on this. I'll show you that in just a second. The case, though, is airbrushed, and then he hand paints little things on the cases and on each side. So this one says Gotham Watch Club right there because obviously he is part of the Gotham Watch Club. He made this for me. It's inspired by the Gotham Watch Club. The colors here are somewhat inspired by the Gotham Watch Club, although he asked me to choose some colors and he gave me some ideas, and I ended up choosing like a greenish, reddish, orange color. So not entirely inspired by the Gotham Watch Club, but it does say Gotham Watch Club on it, and I thought that was really cool. I should have probably chose a little bit more orange because of the Gotham Watch Club colors, but there are two different logos. So there is a red logo. This is more in line with that logo. And when we were talking about this watch, this matched that logo, and I kind of gone with this orange logo more than the red logo, but enough about the logo. This is a very interesting watch. The design here is very Frank Mueller. If you are familiar with Frank Mueller, this looks like, I think it's called the Vanguard, and obviously it is inspired by that watch, but at the same time, they're putting a lot of effort into this case and into this watch overall. You're getting a beautiful curved sapphire crystal, a case where the case is actually very nicely finished, and you have these areas on the side that are sort of evacuated just a little bit, and then you have a curved sapphire crystal on the case back, and you have a curved case back, and that case back is screwed in. And you do get to see the movement, which is an ETA movement. It is a 7001. Like I was saying, this is made by Nubio, who are part of Solar Time. Solar Time are a larger group who own a number of brands. Some of those brands, Spinnaker, Aviate, and there are a few others under their moniker of the Solar Time moniker. Some people love those watches. Some people absolutely hate them. I do reviews for them from time to time. And this is one of the watches in their overarching family. So what he has done is collaborated with them on this specific model. He gets all of the parts, he hand paints them, so he gets the dials, and there's a little area in this dial that echoes his logo, and he hand paints that. Then after he hand paints all of these pieces of the watch, he then sends it back to Nubio. They take it and assemble the watches themselves. They put the movements in, they make sure it's working, and obviously do some tests, and then make deliveries. They're collaborating with him because he's a world champion. He's actually a three-time ISA scooter champion. So he is a pretty big deal, and I'm actually very proud to have him in my club, and he does some pretty cool things. He made this limited edition. It's 100 pieces, so I believe some of them are sold, but not all of them. So there are some that are available still. They aren't all custom, like he made this specifically for me because we know each other. He does have a number of these available on their website, and I believe on his website as well, but Either way, I'll put a link to both of the websites down in the description. Like I was saying, this is powered by an ETA 7001. It gets 50 meters of water resistance. You get a sapphire crystal in the front and back. That front sapphire is curved. This is a 38 millimeter watch. It wears larger because you do have a long lug to lug. It's around 47 millimeters at the case, but it definitely does not wear like that because it wears like a cuff, because the strap is affixed to the case with 2 screws that are exposed on the top side of the case. And I'll show you a picture of that. And because of that, it does wear stiff. So it does not fold down. You have a very long lug to lug. So if you have a small wrist, this might be a problem for some because of that lug to lug, but it is a thin watch at around 10.5 millimeters thick. That is really good considering that it's a pretty layered dial. So the dial is skeletonized. You have that central portion that is hand painted. You have very large indices that are applied. Those are filled with lume. And then you have these lume plops. Those are also indices that sit behind those other indices. So lots going into this. And then the hands are also lume. They're skeletonized. There's a center cap rather than a second sand because this gets a small seconds. The small seconds is at the 6 o'clock position or right above the 6 o'clock position. It's basically centered in that logo right at the bottom, right above that 6 o'clock. A lot going into this. Obviously, a lot of handwork goes into this because it is done by hand and then it is assembled. So the price on this is actually very, very reasonable considering how bespoke it is. We'll talk about that in just a minute. On my wrist today, I have my latest purchase, a very weird watch from a very weird brand that is now defunct. However, it is being revived. This is a Di Grassono, and this is the FG1, a retrograde by retrograde. So it's a retrograde minutes and seconds. You have a day-night indicator and you have a jump hour. This is also a GMT. So this is a very complicated watch. However, it doesn't look extremely complicated. They actually laid this out really well. It does look very unique, and you guys know I love unique watches. And there is the watch on my 7.5 inch wrist. You could see it wears very, very thin because it is a thin watch. It does wear large in the lug to lug range because even I have a 7.5 inch wrist and this is reaching the limits of my wrist. So I would say if you have a smaller than maybe a slightly larger wrist than mine, maybe 7 3/4 or just under 8 inch wrist, you should definitely try this on before you buy it because it will be a little bit large. It will wear a little bit large. If you don't mind that, then it's definitely not a big deal. But I think it works pretty well on my wrist. It does not bother my wrist at all because I have a larger wrist. And I'm not sure if you could use this with other straps. I don't believe you can. And I'm not sure if Nubio sell other straps. That would be interesting to find out, that you could pair this with maybe something that's a little bit softer that will fold down a little bit better. Who knows? But there you go. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. This is a 38 millimeter watch with an 11 or just under 11, 10.5 millimeter thickness, and then a 47 and change lug to lug, but obviously it wears much larger than that because of the strap. But there you go. Lume is decent on here. Everything is nicely applied with lume. The only thing I would say is that there is no moving element with lume. That cap has a little bit of lume in it, so where the second hand would normally be if this wasn't a small seconds, there's a little bit of lume there. And then in the dial itself, there's 2 dots of lume, basically where the eyes would be in his Kota logo in the center of the dial, which is also pretty cool. I like that they did that. And then everything else is lume. So they did a really good job with the lume on here. Overall, I think it's a really good looking watch and very, very interesting. It's a conversation starter. You're gonna love it or hate it. Some people are not gonna like the look of this watch, and I get that, and some people are really gonna like it. If you like the look of a Vanguard, you're gonna really love this watch because it looks a lot like a Vanguard. I think it's just a really nicely made watch as well. I love the movement, the 7001, which is ETA Swiss-made movement. Obviously, that's a very nice movement, and especially for the price. This is a $1,500 watch. For the price, $1,500, you are getting a lot for your money. Really nice packaging as well, but this gets a high grade movement as standard movements go, and there's a lot of bespoke work going into it, made by someone who is an artist as well. So pretty cool. I think that's really awesome. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I'll put links to this watch down in the description. Definitely check it out if you are interested. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful to the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next video.